This time on Custom Works, it's all about the meat wagon. We're going to push and get this thing done. And this time, we're looking at insulation and making things good under that bonnet. Let's get to the workshop. So we are in the belly of the beast, or rather just the back of the meat wagon. You know, there's been a lot of bits come together to make this. If you've been watching it for a while, you know, we built everything in here from scratch, literally everything. So there's just a few bits of tidying up, just to make sure everything's watertight. Also, just to make sure all the pieces are well matted together. I'm just going to go round on the inside. You know, there's some bits where there's sort of like timber that is, you know, a structural part of this. So once that's been glassed over, makes it all nice and strong. Just makes it all a lot better. And of course all around here as well. Now, once we've done this, we'll have sort of a nice big one-piece fiberglass sort of inside that we can fix stuff to. And next on after this will be some insulation, and then we'll ply line the entire thing, and then after the plywood's gone on, then we will cover all this in stainless steel sheet so that everything is just how you'd want it to be if food was being prepared. Because don't forget, this will be a food van. So on the outside, yes, we've got rat rod, and you know that gives you a certain sort of, you know, room for manoeuvre on things. But in here is business, and not just normal business. It's business at some point someone's going to have a look at and make sure it's all alright. So everything in here has got to be spot on. So things like down here, we have this void which is under the step. All of this will be filled with insulation. All of this will be smooth round until we've got just one whole smooth shape inside. And then we can start putting some small battening on that, and we can really start lining it out. But for now, this is what it looks like. Right, so all the mat is stuck in there. Now all we've got to do is wet it down with some resin. So I'm going to mix some resin up, get the brush out, and do that really long sort of dabby job, because a lot of it's upside down. And after last week when I did the underside of this, I thought all that was over. How wrong I was. Okay, so now what we're going to do is wait for that fiberglass to dry. Okay then, insulation on the meat wagon. What we're going to use this 40mm, I think this is Kingspan or Cellarflex, something like that. I'm sure it says on somewhere on it. No, it's Extra Therm, that's what it is. But they're all pretty much the same, this sort of yellowy insulation. And what this gives us, this 40mm, gives us the same as about 8 inch of rock wool. You know, sort of standard fiberglass sort of insulation. So we're going with this because we've not got a massive amount of room inside. And also this because there's not much framework left because the body just holds itself now. But any that is in like a 3x2 sort of timber. This is about 2 inch. So this sits and doesn't stick out any more than anything else. And it makes an excellent insulator for vans. So if you're doing a camper van or anything, you know, don't just put some bubble wrap on the wall and a bit of carpet. It's not gonna work. You want some of this? I insulated my entire house with this and never had any central heating on upstairs or anything like that. It really is excellent stuff. And you can easily insulate the back of a van. However, because of its thickness, its rigidity, you can also simplify the shape of the van. And that's what I've been doing. And the reason I'm insulating, you might think, why do we need to insulate a food van? It's always going to be hot in there. Well, insulation works in two ways. If it's a sunny day and you're well insulated, it doesn't get any hotter in the vehicle. So that works really well. And also, when it's super cold, you don't want it to be too cold at first when you go in the morning, and also we don't want any condensation. and this really will stop condensation. In like with a single skin sort of car or van roof, it's always going to condensate, it's always going to be damp. But with this stuff bonded to it, all of that stops, and all of the inner skin of the van becomes sealed and condensation free. Right, so with this kind of insulation, probably the best way to cut it is with a knife. You just cut one side. And then it just breaks. You can also cut it with a saw. I've been cutting it with a saw. Obviously sawzall, table saw, angle grinder. Yeah, a little bit crazy. But whatever you want really. But probably the easiest way is with a knife. Right, and so, once you've cut your piece, and you might think, why are you cutting such a complicated bit? It's because this curve is just mind-blowing to go over with this stuff. And so what I've been doing is just, where I can get some on, get it on them, fill the gaps. Probably not the best way around of doing it, but it's so complicated, the shape is. But anyway, we've got that in there, and it fits nice. So, now, using board fix, so this is for dry lining in buildings, and it's for just sticking this stuff essentially to walls rather than using like a drywall adhesive, which is water based and probably not suitable for cars, but foam most definitely is. So you've got to put this stuff on. Right, and so with this stuff, what you got to do, you've got to sort of leave it for, you know, 5 or 10 minutes until it sort of goes sticky like this, and you can almost feel it. Like, I'm wearing gloves because this stuff sends your hands black. It's really, really bad. Always wear gloves with this stuff. And that, you know, it's not as liquid as it was, it's quite sticky, so now I can actually stick it on. Right, and so that sticks on and it's all good. So then what I'm going to do here, obviously there's gaps, so I'm going to fill in those gaps with some of this foam. Same stuff again. And I'm going to do that so that once this is done, everything is sealed, and what I'll also do is go over all of this exposed foam with some aluminium silk tape. And then what we've got like a vapor-proof, insulated thing, you know, like it's all sealed and good. So when it's really a really hot day, sun won't sort of get in too much. And of course, if it's a really cold morning, it will warm up nicely. It'll be a nicer vehicle on the road, won't be just like a shed on the back of a truck. It just makes it it'll make it a lot better. So as you can see, there's a lot more to do here. A lot of bits to be cut, areas such as this, I'll sweep them out, and then I'm going to just box them in with the insulation, because this void over here it's of no use. You know, here will be worktop, and this will be cupboards and storage, but it's just nice to simplify the shape. Once this is done and all the joints are taped, we'll be lining all this in 4mm plywood. And when we do the 4mm plywood, I'll be cutting that in specific shapes that come together in flat planes. I'll be doing that because it's all going to be lined in stainless steel, because it's a food van. So what I'll be doing then is simplifying the shape with the plywood so that just flat cut out sections can fit in the stainless. Obviously these parts where it's curved, they will be curved because we can curve it one way. It's just that we can't curve it two ways. But yeah, I'll be simplifying the shape to make that job in the future easier. Just while on the fact of like foam adhesive and stuff, the gun. These guns, if you don't use them a lot, the foam just sets inside, then you have to buy a new gun. Tips I would give you, always turn the gun off. This shoves the pin that judges how much foam comes out, that shoves that right to the tip, so the tip won't block and it keeps everything in here still liquid. The other thing, at the end of the day, just you can get like a cleaner fluid gun, great cleaner fluid, and then the tip, I put this tip in some thinners and it just removes this stuff, like it just vanishes instantly. But yeah, keep the gun clean, thinners does it, and that stuff that you spray through it that cleans it. Gun cleaner, I think it's probably called. Right, if we look at this very complicated internal curve, what the hell has gone wrong here? What was I doing? What was I thinking? I think what I'm going to have to do it is, I'm going to try and make this bit in this curve as far back into here as I can. So I've just got a small bit to make in there that's complicated. But this, it just seems like the work of a madman. But I've got to get a bit of this on everything on the inside of it. So yeah, probably okay, won't it? Won't it? Do you think it'll be okay? Yeah, so I'll probably use a grinder and grind some of this if it's in the way of putting in the plywood. Right, and so I've sort of finished insulating the back. Even sounds different in here. Like, everything feels so much more solid. And it's just because everything's sort of stuck together now. We've got rid of all these sort of dodgy little voids and stuff and started simplifying the shape, ready for plywood, and then the stainless steel that's going to cloak this. Literally this whole thing is going to be sort of skinned out in stainless steel. So it's super hygienic and, just a great place to prepare food. Right, so what I've been doing is, if I can't cover it with insulation because part of the wall's too far out, I'll cover that part in foam. So I don't want to have to bring the whole wall out just for a bit that sticks out, to, I don't know, hold a hinge or something. In some parts, I've just put foam in. Now I can cut this foam back and it will, it makes everything tidy and it makes a nice clean shape. Always leave this till the next day. The foam seems dry on the day, but it's not, and it does this to your saw and it gets all stuck all over your saw. Let's cut this off. And then we've got just nice, seamless insulation all inside. And I'll be going around and doing that to everything in preparation for the plywood. In the back here, we've got some really complicated shapes, like it's the stuff of nightmares. Even just get this insulation on, I have to cut it into like sort of 70mm squares and stick them on individually and then fill in between with the foam to get around these very difficult, well, they were difficult to make in the first place. Everything's been difficult with those curves, but now we've got to do this and it's all reversed, it's even more difficult. But what I'm hoping for is that this line, I can come through, and I'm thinking about here, I'll end, and then I put another piece in, and then I'm into this, which has only got a curve this way now. There's no more, on the outside, there's a sort of dynamic, sort of 3D sort of shape to it, but it's just one curve now. So hopefully I'll be able to simplify the shape in here good enough that I can make a simple set of templates, cut them out in stainless, and then they all fit in. That's what I'm hoping anyway. But before all of that quite expensive stainless steel, we're going to line it out with this 4mm plywood. This is a marine ply, so it should be fine with any sort of moisture. But what I'm going to do with this is, over all of that insulation, I'll be sticking it on with the same foam. I'm going to prop it in there. I can get all the curves with this because it's very flexible. And I can simplify that shape so the stainless is easier. This is basically almost like a trial run for the stainless. But once this is up, I'll be able to bond the stainless cleanly and tightly to this, get a good all over bond, and it's just going to look so cool in there. I want it to look like the inside of a spaceship, just clinical, stainless, and amazing. Okay, so back on with the meat wagon, and all the bits that when you body swap a car, nothing goes, it might look okay from the outside, but it's like all this crap. So here, what I made underneath the car in this dye bond last week, this is what it looks like from the inside. So lots of expanding foam that needs smoothing out, lots of screws that are sticking through, lots of old bits of the taxi that probably need just like cleaning up, sorting out, so everything looks neat and tidy. We've got an engine in, just an engine here that is just in absolute disarray. Oh, it's all covered in dust. We've got a lot of issues here, basically. A lot of issues, because when you lift the bonnet on a car, it can't look like this. It's got to look a bit tidier. I'm not talking about full dress show car. I'm just talking about everything, all the inner wings painted black in like a stone chip, and just things looking right. We've even got here, we've got the fuel tank here, and I think this might be where it stays because it's diesel. We're using a fuel cell, so it's well sealed, and it fits here so nicely. I did think about putting it in the back because for safety reasons, but if you think about it, it's just in a crumple zone at the back or at the front. So it may well end up being actually mounted here, but just across to the side a little bit, and then you can fill it up. It all works nice and easy, and we'll probably get enough airflow around this because, of course, it's a very, very low compression diesel engine, so it doesn't run particularly hot. But yeah, there is stuff to do here. There's a lot of tidying up. So I'm going to get the grinder out, I'm going to clean everything up, get rid of all the screws, get everything to a nice sort of smooth shape, start to glass some things in, get this tank out, start thinking about some proper mountings for it, and generally let's get this under the bonnet area sorted out. And also things like this. What the hell is going on? In my rush to get this kit on the car, look at this. This needs some real work, and all of this framework needs glassing to the bonnet as well. It's just been sort of bodged together to get the body on and get it all in place. But now we need to make all this good, need to make it all look right and just look like a real car.
Shout it good, show enough good enough for me. You're looking good, shout it good, show enough good enough for me. You're looking good, shout it good, show enough good enough for me. You're looking good, shout it good, show enough good enough for me. You're looking good, shout it good, show enough good enough for me. You're looking good, shout it good, show enough good enough for me. You're looking good, shout it good, show enough good enough for me.
Okay, so I took the fuel tank out. This is all just very dusty and needs a good sort of clean up, and then some fiberglass and paint. But we've got all of that out, and these inner arches that we made just from underneath, they're not looking too bad at all, considering we did them all just from the underside. And also all of the metalwork around here I've wire brushed down and then covered with the stuff that solids up the rust. Also we have, and this is a rare thing you're looking at here. Look at that. That's like where the battery tray goes, and it's not absolutely rotted through. And this is quite a was quite a rotten car. But that's looking good. Actual battery tray is here that sits on there. I've wire brushed all of that down and given that a coat of that stuff, and that should turn black in a bit, and we'll paint that, and it should be good for many years to come. Yeah, I think now just a really good blowout, because look, we've still got bits of conifer. What? So get the airline, blow all this out. Everything's sealed with fiberglass, everything's now one piece. You know, it's going to be better for like water getting in, stuff like that. Just generally tidier, so we can you know, mount all what we're going to mount in there. We know that everything we're mounting it to is solid and you know, painted, coated, finished. So after that fiberglass, I just went round with the sander in the angle grinder and took any sort of woolly bits off, and then we've coated it in this grey, what's called roofing top coat. Now roofing top coat's a lot like fiberglass resin, but it's got this grey pigment to it, and you can put it on quite thick, and it just seals everything, makes everything smooth, cleans up all the edges, and just makes all those blind bits, all the bits you don't normally see in a fiberglass car, look that little bit better. Things also I've done, I rust proofed, cleaned all the old rust off, rust proofed the battery tray, and then I painted that all in the resin as well, so that should last for a long time, and the inner of this inner wing as well. So, you know, this whole section, all of this, nice and sealed, looks tidy, and it's just one step closer to the meat wagon being done. Okay then, so that's it for this week. Join us next time. We're going to be doing more on the meat wagon. We're going to be getting the job done. We're going to be getting it out there, finished, on the road, so you can eat meat from this hatch. Oh yes. Now, this has been this week's episode. There's going to be another 7 days until next week. Very much and good night.